Okay, we are live on streaming, and here we go for recording. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Andy Arnott and
Amy Weiss.
And this is Seller Roundtable number 42. And today we are talking international listings with Yana Krekic. Welcome, Yana. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me today.
I am so excited to have Yana here because I met her at Global Sources. Well, actually, I saw her in China before then. She's a world traveler. And she did this really cool presentation. And you guys all know how much of a listing optimization nerd I am. And so to hear Yana talk about it was so cool because she writes international listings. And she did this presentation at Global Sources that was so cool, explaining keywords and how it's not so simple just to translate your listing using Google Translate, and how different words and different languages matter, especially when it comes to SEO and keywords. So Yana, we're so happy to have you on today to talk to our audience about your passion for languages and keywords. And I know we have many listeners that are thinking about going international or have already gone and need to improve their listings. So yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to speaking today and to just, telling people out there, like, go try other international markets. People freak out because of the language barrier, mostly because, like we as English speakers, we all think that, everybody can speak English, which is, mostly it's true. But like when you're selling online, this kind of way of thinking can cost you a lot of money. And you really have to, explain to people what you're selling. You have to have clear descriptions. So everything is about clearly written content. And don't expect somebody to buy your product written in English, let's say on a French market or an Italian market, because they're not going to be sure about the ingredients, what the product is for, how to use it. And then just people freak out and they just go to your competitor, even though your price is better and stuff like that, So that's something to like really bear in mind while selling internationally.
Yeah, so I would love to have you start by, well, of course, you said you were going to share your screen, and we will definitely make sure that we speak to the slides as well, because for those listeners that are listening via our podcast, we want them to get a visual of kind of what's going on as well. But for those that are watching on our Facebook page, they can also see your slides. And we can start by you telling us a little bit about you and your company and how you kind of got started in your business.
Right. So we've been around for almost 2 years. My company name is YLT Translations. Everybody asks me, like, what is it? This is like Yana language or something. Actually, YLT stands for Your Listing Translations. And we've been around for almost 2 years, let's say a year and 6 or 7 months or so. We've built a team of 42 people. Native translators, also my project manager, assistant, graphic designer. So we have a pretty big team now. And we do about, depending on the month, but we do a couple of hundred listings every month to all European markets. And we also do Japanese and Mexican market as well.
Wow, that's a lot. Congratulations on building such an amazing large team, and also getting to be a world traveler and speak all over about what you do. That's so awesome. And thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. That's basically my dream come true, because I really like to travel. But I just want to say one thing. I was the worst public speaker ever in March this year. I was cool, when doing like web summits and stuff like that. But like March in Prague was my first big conference, and it was absolutely horrible. I sounded like Android robot, like, yeah, awesome. It was just like so unnatural. And then like 8 months later, I just feel so much more comfortable. And I just, don't feel the need to like sound like a robot or something. So, for everybody out there who's like freaking out about anything they want to do in their life, just go and do it, especially if you're in an online business, because like what can happen in like 7 or 8 months online, it takes like 5 years offline. So basically that's what you need to do. Just do what you have to do, and that's it.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, we will have you share your screen and we'll get started.
Cool. So yeah, the first thing I mentioned was that you really have to know your market, and you have to know who are you talking to your audience on the different marketplaces. So, and it's all about clearly the descriptions, right? So I like to take an example, which I call it the French mom test. So actually the French mom test is like this pregnant lady, she's pregnant with her second child, and she's like looking to find like a diaper bag. And here you can see that the diaper bags, the one is written in English, the first one, and 3 others are written in French. And basically she likes this one, the English one, but you know, it's in English and she's not sure. It's not only about the French people, it's also about the Germans, Italians, you know, they don't want to be unsure about what they're buying, especially if it's like for their kids. Is it going to be like safe? Is it's going to be convenient for mother? Is it like, you know, if it's plastic, if it's BPA free? All these information, people can a little bit skeptic. And actually, I wrote in I read at Harvard Business Review that actually 56.2% of people say that the language was more important than the price, which actually is the case with this bag, because this bag costs maybe a little under 30 euros. And it has only 4 reviews. And when you compare it to other 3 bags, which are written in French and they're more expensive, they have more reviews and they're selling better, you know? So basically you should watch out for not leaving any of the English listings on other international markets, or just even having something which sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo, because, you know, content is really important for people who want to buy your product.
So how often do you find English listings on you know, in a French market like this?
Well, you can find a lot of those basically in German and French market, Italian. Usually when people have a lot of products, they just translate maybe one of their best sellers and then leave just like 20 other ASINs written in English, because like they're gonna get back to that later, you know. And they're basically, yeah, and that's kind of, they want to save money or whatever they want to do with it, but I don't think that's the right way to do it. Some people might search for some English words or English keywords, because also when you do keyword research, sometimes like an English combination of long tail keywords shows up. So obviously some people search for these products like in English. Also, like if you have, we've recently had some sports equipment, and then for those products, people would search for that in English. So in these cases, sometimes it's okay to have an English keyword or something which makes sense to be called in English, maybe, you know, more internationally on some market. But usually like listings should be written in the target language of the market you're trying to sell on.
Got it. And I even see that here in your example, this skip hop Highline convertible diaper backpack. Convertible diaper backpack might be a keyword that is more well known in English, but then right after that, you can see the French part of the title. So
Yeah.
they've kind of used a little bit of both, whereas this other one that you're showing is completely in English. So you don't get that warm fuzzy that it's meant for the French market.
Yeah, it also really depends on the product. You know, for some products, it's absolutely okay to have like this product, like half of the title is going to be like in English, because maybe they're going to be like a lot of English keywords there. And then the other part of the title is going to be in French or some like German or some other language, because it just makes sense. But it doesn't make sense always. You know, it doesn't make sense for certain products to even have some English keywords, because it just sounds weird on the German market. For instance, the German market is really a market where you don't want to have too many of English words in your listing.
Got it.
Yeah. Basically, this brings another topic, and that is why should people not just translate their keywords, you know, into other markets, and just kind of, you know, why shouldn't we just take this diaper backpack and just translate it in Google Translate and give it, you know, and give it like a different meaning in French and just use it in the title. because, you know, that's just not how you want to do it, because every keyword has to be researched separately for each market, because it's not necessarily that this diaper backpack bag exists on the French market in exactly that form, that it's like consists of 3 different words. It's a long tail word. Maybe it's like, maybe this is going to be gray backpack, you know, this is going to be like high search volume, and not this one like this, you know. So like different combinations are possible for each market separately. That's why people should not, you know, touch them and like Google Translate them or anything like it. And also, I always like to say that, you know, you never should use like this guy, for instance, Kevin, 22 from Liverpool, you know, like he studied in Italy and, you know, he's good in languages. Like, should you use this guy to do your listing translations?
Is this
You know,
like the Kevin we hire on Upwork, right?
yeah, this is Kevin from Upwork or from Fiverr or from any of these websites. And I mean, some of these people, they probably know what they're doing and they know how to do the keyword research and everything. But, you know, Kevin, as your regular translator, or let's say person who studied languages for a while, what does he know about like Amazon listing? What does he know about, you know, the lengths? How does he even know how the algorithm works and what is A9 algorithm, you know? And the worst thing of all is because if you give the listing to Kevin, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not a copywriter, nothing close to the SEO, at least he does something on Google industry. He would definitely fail the French mom test, because this French mom would have Googled or like, you know, wrote on Amazon gray diaper bag. And if this is the keyword that's, for instance, for the French market, and he didn't use it, the product would not show up, you know. Or
Right.
maybe Kevin would use something which is kind of too broad, so the product will show up with thousands of other products and be absolutely irrelevant for this keyword that, you know, somebody chose. So you really have to pay attention to what you are doing when it comes to keywords and when it comes to who is doing your listings. I'm not saying that you should never hire anyone on Upwork or never hire anyone on Fiverr, but you have to know for sure that they know the tools, that they know how to do it, that they understand why people are doing things the way they're doing on Amazon, and, you know, why we're doing the translations this way and not the other way around, you know.
Basically that they're not just a translator that speaks the language, but also someone that understands how to do listing optimization and why placement of keywords and how search engine optimization works.
Exactly. So this person has to know more also about, you know, localization. You know, I'm going to also talk about that. I have really good examples when it comes to comparing the US and German market, because everybody seems to they want to go to the German market because it's like the biggest market in Europe and everybody wants to go there, you know. But before that, I would just like to give a couple of very interesting examples when it comes to Google Translate. So basically, this picture here, for those of you who cannot see the screen, it says made in Turkey, but like Turkey is a bird, not as a country, you know, because this is a Fabrik an Dind. This is what basically Google Translate. Dind is Turkey bird, like in French. So it's not a country at all. And so this is what Google Translate used to do about, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. But Google Translate has actually got better, but it's far, it's like really not that close to any of the human translation. Because basically, if you put, let's say we have this sweetened milk can, and if you put it in Google Translate, it's going to translate like on Spanish, and I'm sorry, my Spanish is horrible, la leche azucarada puede. This is what you will get in Google Translate. And if you put this la leche azucarada puede on Amazon, you're absolutely not going to get this condensed milk. You're going to get like, I don't know, some like Botox and like preparación and
it looks like a bag of sugar. There's
bag
a
of
bag
sugar
of rose sugar.
Yeah, it's just,
and,
you know,
and some I think that's for diabetes, like a diabetes.
yeah, it says sugar meter, you know, and you don't want your product, your contents milk to be ranked for like diabetes, right? And to like, you don't want to use these keywords in your PPC campaigns and start completely wrong, you know? Because whenever you start selling internationally, you know, like Amazon gives you like this like a fake advantage. So you basically get more than you deserve, you know, when you like this like this like fake edge when you start.
Yeah,
And
the honeymoon period,
the
right? When you
honeymoon
first
period, right?
launch, you get like 2 weeks or something of like a little bit of extra edge. And if you're
Yeah.
wasting that, selling your sweetened condensed milk as a bag of rose sugar, well, then you might not get anywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, so you should definitely not. I mean, as I said, Google Translate gets it right. You know, it gets better than it was before, but it's still not good enough, and you should not trust Google Translate at all. You know, and the second example is also very interesting, and it's about a kitchen faucet. So if you put faucet in Google Translate and Italian, you would get rubinetto, which exactly that's actually a faucet. It's some sort of faucet, so it's not a mistake. But if you write rubinetto on the Italian market, you're gonna get like a vacuum cleaner, like vaporizer or something. Like I don't know, you know, like nothing to do with faucet. And then you actually call the faucet you want to find miscelatore lavello. Like this is how I actually call the faucet, you know. And this is like, you know, because we had the similar product, and then, you know, when people just kind of check Google Translate, one of our clients was like, are you sure this is the right product? And, you know, like all translators, they're like natives, and, you know, they're like, okay, let's do keyword research. They do it, but they know how they would call this product, and they check it, you know, on Amazon. And it's completely insane that you get actually rubinetto, which is a faucet, but not this kind of faucet that you're looking for. So completely like different than whatever Google Translate told you, right?
I might decide to change my mind and buy that chocolate fountain though. That looked pretty good.
I know. I love this example. This is what I left it. And I'm like, I like this chocolate fountain, rubinetto fountain or whatever, you know, which makes sense because, you know, fountain, something goes like chocolate goes from the tap or whatever, you know, I mean, it makes some sense, you know. So that's a no-no. So when it comes to Google Translate, it doesn't also understand context. You know, this is also very important because it can get like, you can put like how to use my vacuum cleaner in Google Translate, you'll probably figure something out, right? But when it comes to like your brand or storytelling and stuff like that, Google Translate does not recognize context, so sometimes it will not connect the dots, you know. And this is really something you don't want in your listing. You don't want to sign like, you know, Chinese sellers on the US market and stuff like that. You know, I just don't think it's necessary. Also, when talking about how to know your markets, talking about localization, I think it's very important to understand how the market works and who are your customers, also to understand the culture. It might sound like completely basic or something like, yeah, Yana, of course you're going to think about the culture and stuff, but you will be surprised how many people don't even think about actually investing time and money or anything into actual localization of their products. For instance, the German market is very interesting because, you know, a lot of people want to go there. It's the biggest market in Europe. And it's a 5-star market because all of the other countries that don't have Amazon, they're redirected. And so everybody buys stuff from Germany. So that's, you know, pretty interesting. And that's why, you know, a lot of people, they have like a lot of big revenue and profit and sales because they're like a lot of customers. Also, Japanese market is very interesting for people, but I think they're very afraid because of the Japanese language. It's a completely different alphabet, and I just think that people are very intimidated by the whole market. You also have to have like a very specific product for the marketplace. So you have to be careful with what you want to launch over there, and to maybe lower your expectations. From our experience, people wait for maybe a longer time, for maybe like a couple of months, before they can actually see some changes. So, you know, like when it comes to, I don't know, European markets or German market, really good category are kids products. You know, everything what kids love, like glitter, face paint, like crayons, everything. And literally you can see changes in like after 2 weeks. You can see like, oh my God, like my sales have gone up. But Japanese market, I just think you have to wait and just be patient if you think you have like a really good product for that market. And because it's a really big market. And I always say to people, if they have a really good product for that market, if it's a good fit, that they should go and try definitely to do something on that market.
And I love that you bring that up, because that's one of the biggest questions that I get is, Amy, we're ready to expand. Where should we go first? And should we go to Europe? Should we go to Japan? And I always say, well, go to that market, you have a browser, put in amazon.com, UK, what I forgot what the extension is, right? But go and actually check it out and see,
Right.
search for those types of products and see, just like you would on Amazon US, you want to look and see what the market looks like. And then if you don't see anything like your product, let's say, you have the baby mama backpack, right? And you don't see anything like that in Japan. Well, you want to make sure, number one, that you're searching for the right keywords, right? But number two, that is something that's going to work in that market. So you might want to kind of study the culture a little bit, so that you're understanding what do moms use in that capacity, right? Before you go completely into that market. So really great advice there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't know who to ask, or like if you're like, how am I supposed to know what Japanese people like? It's very easy because, as you said, how would you check the products in the US market? You would ask some US people. I mean, you have like so many different like groups on Facebook with like expats and like all sorts of like other people and cultures. You can just ask people for random advice. Like, would you buy this? Like, would this work? Like there's so many ways to get like opinion from people who live there or who know their culture. You don't have to pay anything for it, so it doesn't have to be a disaster from the very beginning. And like for instance, we had like these the cell phone cover with like really like this Pikachu little this monsters with like pink ears, and it was like a very big hit in Japan. But you would always almost like just see it in Japan. You would not see it in France or in Spain, right? It's like exactly a good fit for that market. And you'll be like, okay, well, this is something which is very typical for the Japanese market. And then you ask people like, okay, should I make it in glitter? Like Japanese culture has completely different holidays than Christmas and other stuff like on the other part of the world. So you want to also dig into that as well. And you don't have a lot of competitors on that market. It's huge, and PPC clicks are 50% cheaper than it is on any of the other market worldwide on Amazon. So I think it's a really good opportunity. A lot of people complain about, takes a lot of time for the product to get to Japan, but it's basically, it takes the same amount of time when you're shipping the product from the US to Europe and vice versa. Basically, there's nothing is not longer than that, and it's not like any more complicated than registering for pan-European business or sending it to the warehouse in US. Like basically it's the same.
Got it.
Yeah. Also, a very interesting thing, like we've got a lot of inquiries for the Dutch market. So the talk is that the Amazon is going to start selling in the Netherlands in January. And we got a lot of people who are interested in starting to sell in the Netherlands. And I was actually quite surprised because I know that they have their own marketplace called Bol. And I was like, okay, I didn't know that many people want to, apart from that marketplace, which is very, very popular, that they're going to start selling on Amazon. And I think we've done like over 70, 80 ASINs the beginning of November only for that market, which is a lot because not many people just want to go to the market, not even knowing anything about it. There is no keyword research. There are no tools that offer keyword research for the Dutch market, so you have to do everything manually. But it looks like there's a lot of people interested on starting to sell on that market as well.
Okay, hot tip. I like it.
Yeah.
Moving into the Netherlands.
Yes, from January, I think, or end of January, but should be the beginning of 2020, definitely. There's also Middle East Amazon, but I don't see a lot of people. I think like people are talking about it, but I think that people over there that they buy from their own local marketplaces, they're not that much into Amazon. I mean, not at this moment. Maybe that will change in future, but for now, it hasn't made any grand entrance in that part of the world.
In my MBA program,
fortunately.
I studied international expansion. That was one of our like big projects we
Mhm.
had to do. And in the Middle East, we learned that, and even in India, there are so many local markets.
Right, you didn't
Local
even know
markets
about
and
him.
yeah, and shopping online really isn't a thing because there's so many of these little like street
Yeah,
sign kind of
exactly.
things, and that's how people shop. So it's another kind of, it's all about learning that market and changing it. And it's interesting how India has taken the Amazon market and
Oh, definitely.
made it
Yeah.
popular for some things, even though their street markets are still very, very popular.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, the India, and I know Megla, she did the Indian sourcing trip. It's very interesting how things are, just switching from, China to India or Vietnam as well. Steve also did a trip to Vietnam sourcing, and like people are doing like going to other countries, and I think it's like maybe time for switching sides for where you're gonna get your products, source them, or anything else. It's going to be quite interesting to see where this goes.
Definitely.
Yeah, so when talking about going to international markets, I always tell clients, if you have some bestsellers in the States or in the UK, just try and go to the German market, because German market, it makes most of the products that are popular in the UK or in the US, they work, they sell good, they make profit, and there are a lot of things that you can just do the way you're doing on other international markets. And when talking about people who did make mistake or who were super successful, I always start with my absolute favorite example. And I've been sharing this example, like this year I've been speaking about like 9 conferences, and I change my presentation, of course, like every now and then, but I always keep the Hof as my primary example of like your go-to person when it comes to like the mindset of going to international markets. And I probably think that, people are wondering like, okay, what does David Hasselhoff have to do with my listings or with Amazon or internationalization or anything? And of course, everybody knows that he was like this, actor in Baywatch, running in slow-mo with his hair and like, hair with the chest hair, but a lot of people don't know about his singing career, which was actually considered as a big joke in the States. But actually, on the German market, he was an absolute superstar. He was literally raised to stardom. Like this guy was called to sing at the opening of the Berlin Wall. It was like one of the most important events in the European history and world's history as well. And he, of all people, was called to sing "Looking for Freedom" at the opening of the Berlin Wall in the 80s. And like nobody has an explanation like why Hoff, like why was he so popular, like why not some like random German singer? And maybe it was because of his like leather hosen and his like leather outfit. I don't know what Germans love there so much, but he was so successful, and he would never, if he hadn't tried, or if somebody had told me like go there and try, maybe I think you're a good fit for this market, he would have never succeeded that much. And like even today, like you can buy his records like on Amazon, you can see like his face on some German stores. He's still quite big and like such an amazing singer in Germany, and such a poor singer in the States. It's just like it's so funny. But like this is what you can get if you go to international market. Maybe you are just the right fit for that other market. So I always say like, be like Hoff, and don't be like, for instance, Dolce Gabbana. Dolce Gabbana is like this haute couture brand from Italy. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to kind of promote Chinese culture, Italian culture, to kind of combine it. And they made this promotional video where you have an Asian girl eating pizza with her chopsticks. And this was played in China as part of their promotional video. And Chinese people were really, really upset. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you know how sensitive Chinese people are when it comes to their culture. So this was a big and an epic failure. And this resulted by Chinese e-commerce completely banning Dolce & Gabbana merchandise from their online shops. And I mean, it's the biggest e-commerce the market over there. So they lost so much money. and it was a complete disaster. Also, something similar happened to Kim Kardashian. She didn't launch the product, but she has like this shapewear collection, and she decided to call them kimono. And then Japanese mayor, he heard about this and he was like, oh no, you didn't, like, no, you're not gonna call kimono by our national clothing, our national attire, your shape underwear. And so this was, the whole idea was stopped, and she had to change it to something else. And so, I mean, she didn't get banned or anything, but this was also, you know, a disaster which could have definitely happened. And one of the examples that I like is in Portugal, Hyundai used to sell a car model named Hyundai Kona. And Kona is actually like a slang name for a female organ, right? And so people were just like, you know, I don't want to drive Hyundai Kona, you know, like, and so they had to change it. But after they've like produced, I don't know how many models of it, they had to change it to Hyundai Kauai. And Kauai is a Hawaiian island. So, you know, I don't know why they picked that island, but it was like no, actually, you know, nothing related to female genitalia or anything like it. So, you know, it was a job well done. And I think the kind of Hyundai industry survived, you know, in Portugal or in that part of Europe, you know. But
So-
I know why. Wait, I got to interrupt, because
Okay,
Kona
go
is a
ahead.
town in Hawaii. That's actually where my dad lives.
Okay.
And Kauai is an island. So I think they just parlayed it over to another Hawaiian place. But I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, which accidentally means like female organ, right, in Portuguese. So they probably didn't think it through, you know. But it's all mistake of the market research. I mean, you know, and these are some quite big names. It's not you as a seller or my friend who just started doing something on other market. These are actually big names, and it's quite unbelievable that something like that actually happens to companies of these sizes, you know.
Right. Yeah. It was like the Chevy Nova, right? It means no-go in Spanish. That didn't go over well for them.
Yeah. That as well. Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Yana. How have you seen some successes when you've done a proper listing of somebody who's broken into one of these new markets that previously didn't have a good listing, and then you redid it for them and you saw their sales recover?
Yes, absolutely. Because a lot of people come to us because we give like feedback on already written translations, and we are always more than happy to take a look at anybody's listings. And a lot of people used Amazon Launchpad because it was for free. And, you know, like when you put Amazon and free in one sentence, it just doesn't, you know, doesn't come up with something as exceptionally good. So basically a lot of those are machine translations, and people just start selling with machine translations. And in those translations given by Amazon, you don't have any keywords, and it doesn't make much sense. You don't have properly written bullets, and it's just not a good listing. And after that, I mean, your product could be selling well, even if you have a poorly written listing, because maybe you have a fantastic product, and maybe maybe your PPC guy is doing a good PPC job. You know, I mean, there are like more pieces to a puzzle than just kind of listing alone, right? But once you optimize the listing and put right keywords and like put like high traffic keywords, and you kind of make it more localized, it's just going to help boost your sales and listing even more. It's definitely not going to harm you. But I just have to warn people when they change their listings, they're absolutely not allowed to change. Like if you want to change something and see and test if it's going to work or not, you just have to change one variable at a time. So you're not supposed to like do like title and all bullets, you know, just change like the title, or maybe change like the first bullet and then see how it goes. So don't change everything. It's going to mess up like of your whole listing, especially if you've been ranked for some while, if you are, you know, not at the very beginning and, you know, just decided to change everything like the second day. So if you're there for a while, just don't change everything immediately, because I think it's not gonna do you any good.
So Kevin, one of our listeners, has a question about, he said there's a PPC nightmare, 5 times the PPC maybe cost for all of the EU markets. because I guess maybe you have to advertise in each market individually. So he's pulling out of the European market right now. Do you have a suggested strategy to deal with having to advertise in all 5 of the different markets and all of the PPC costs that come along with it?
Yeah, well, for that, I can recommend a really amazing expert, and we have a partnered agency, and they do audits of everybody's listings for free. So if anybody wants their contact, I'll be happy to share.
Okay. So as far as you said, they do audits of everyone's listings.
Yes.
But
no, of everybody's accounts. Sorry.
of everyone's
Accounts.
PPC,
Yeah.
you mean?
PPC accounts, right? Yeah.
Okay. So that's not really your area of specialty.
No.
Your area of specialty is more the keywords in terms of the listing.
Yeah, we are more of a content translation, localization keywords. We don't, we can provide, when people ask us for keywords they can use in PPCs, because we really do a good keyword research. We can supply them with a list they can use in their PPC campaigns, but we don't manage their PPC accounts or anything.
Have you seen that be a large concern for this partner agency that you work with, as far as like people saying it's just really expensive to have to, manage PPC in 5 different markets? And these are fairly small markets, right? So it seems kind of crazy that you would have to, but I'm thinking maybe in these other markets, there's less, if it's a smaller market, there might be less advertising required because you're able to get higher organic ranking. So I'm sure there's a balance.
There is a balance, because I know a lot of people are doing that. And I mean, not nobody would have been doing it if it's like insanely expensive. But I think that there's like probably there are strategies that are being used, and you don't have to overpay that much. And also you don't have to have that many competitors. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean that your product is going to be super expensive to advertise for instance. Spanish, Italian markets are quite small. And I mean, I would never suggest anyone to go to the Italian and Spanish market first, unless you're absolutely sure you have a really good product for it, and then you have the budget for it, for everything,
And that's why you're suggesting, like, don't start in all of the markets, start in
No,
one
I
of
I would not suggest starting on all markets. I would suggest like one. I would basically just recommend always the German and maybe the French market. I mean, UK, of course, I mean, but you don't need any, you just need a good keyword research for the UK market. But yeah, let's say German market, from all the other non-English markets, I would always say to go to that one.
Got it. And then do you know anything about moving into these markets? So if you're currently a US seller, someone mentioned global export, where Amazon has a program where they'll automatically export your products from the US to the EU. Do you know anything about moving into these markets if you're currently a US seller, and the best way to do that?
Yeah, well, I just know that you have to apply for, have the VATs that you have to get sorted out. You wait for a couple of months for that. And you really need to know which partner or agency you're hiring, because a lot of them are taking like a year to because when you register for the European market, you also have to register for tax in, I think, in Czech Republic and one more country. So it's outside of these like EU5, which you would think that you have to register for. So you have to register, I think, in 7 or 8 different countries for that, and you have to wait for that. So I think you should know who you can contact in order to get this stuff done. And I would always recommend to register for the pan-European system, because I think it's much helpful and much more straightforward than if you're just gonna go and try for like one market. Even though you don't do all other markets, it's quite easier.
Because the pan-European account allows you to then easily move into the other markets.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the US, North American market, where you can, people in Canada or Mexico can also buy your products on the US market, and then you can decide whether to also list them in Canada or Mexico at a later time. That's, I think, the similar equivalent to the pan-European. And now, Yana, do you have some recommendations for our listeners, if they're wanting to move in as far as contacts of who to contact for the VAT and for some of these other things. And if you have those, if you can provide them to us afterwards, and we'll definitely include them in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. I really want to help people expand internationally. I mean, that's not because like you really don't have to use our services, or but I just know, like, I've been in the industry for a while. I've been talking to so many random people, and they just think of this like European like expansion is like such a nightmare, and really it doesn't have to be. It's all about who can recommend you whom and who knows what they're doing.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of people hire someone, they don't know who they are, they got them as a recommendation, they listen to some like Facebook gurus, pay like $6,000 for their course, only to find out that they have to buy 10 more things in order to get somewhere actually throughout this course. And I just really don't like that, because I don't understand why people are hiding information. I just think whenever I like get out with the presentation, and like I really tend to give like a lot of information about keyword research, like how we do it, what tools you should do, what's the strategy, how you should do your backends, and all sorts of other things. And I never thought that somebody's going to steal that information from me. I just think that if somebody gives you value and gives you information, I think that this is why people are going to come to you, because you've kind of discovered something for them, which is like such a big secret or something,
Right.
So I just, just last week I saw, Danny Carlson from Candy Roy. He did like an awesome job recording like 1 hour on how he does keyword research. And I thought it was absolutely amazing, because he was giving so much value, and he was like, I didn't know like if I'm going to do this or not, but here it is, like complete information. And I just think that people are going to value him more and be like, okay, I'm going to use our agency, or I'm going to, if you recommend me someone, I'm going to say yes, because I know that you are talking about something which makes sense, right?
Exactly.
So I just really
And
don't like the information people are just hiding, and don't want to, help other people, and just be like, I'm here for the money. And like, I just don't really like that approach. And I mean, there are unfortunately so many people in the industry that just have that mindset. And I feel that a lot of people feel that they're like kind of scammed or played, and they're like, oh, I just don't want to talk to anybody anymore. I don't even want to try this. I spent so much money, nothing happened, and
Yeah.
I just really want, if I can help anyone, just gonna change the mindset or help with any sort of advice when it comes to optimization or copywriting, when it comes to international markets, I'm happy to give out all the advice I have.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And I think the biggest thing that people struggle with is just that, like knowing who to trust, how to navigate into those markets, and then being able to actually, once you get there, being successful, because you are investing so much money. And I know
Exactly.
Andy and I have talked about this before. Some of the best thing that you can do is you can figure out some of these things, and then instead of sending your products to the US first, you can just send them straight from China or India or wherever you're sourcing from, direct to those countries next time, because that's going to cut down a lot on your costs. Because right now, a lot of people they're shipping everything to the US, and then they're exporting again to another country. And I know in Canada that doesn't work, right? It cuts into your margins too much. So it's just about learning how to navigate and how to get into some of these international markets if people are looking to expand. And I think you've given good advice today as far as how to get started. Germany is a great place to get started. And we'll get some of that additional information on, how to get started there, and some different trusted agencies that can be used.
I just have like one last tip, because
Yeah,
a lot
sure.
of people, like especially from the States, if they want to go to the German market, and this is a really cool example with the difference in the style, because you cannot go like overly salesy or like super sales pitchy, look at the German market, because they don't like it. They're like, if they're like, buy our product, we're so amazing. Germans are like, facts, clear descriptions, that like, tell me the ingredients, like that's it. It's very cold, but that's what works. Like they don't want to be pushed into buying something or telling, you should not be like bragging about your product or your brand. They're going to be the ones who are going to decide. the German market gives the most refunds ever from all the markets worldwide, because that's what Germans are. They're like, I want this, I don't like it, fine, refund, that's it. This is how they work. It's like plain and clear and simple. No, and like the listing which I chose was, the first paragraph, it says cool, cooler, cool. Those are espresso cups. Cool, cooler, coolest, whatever is sipping hot espresso, blah, 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 and like a metaphor. And the German one says elegant and stylish, elegant and stilvoll, and then you have happier fingers, and they say like, it fits you, this is what they say. Or for instance, on the enigma, just like the old ship in a bottle your granny had, something like that. And the Germans say thermal isolate glass, full stop.
Yeah, just very like matter of fact, this is a glass.
This is, like the Schwarzenegger, like, what is this? It's like pretty much of like, give me a sentence, tell me what is it made of, how do I use it, and that's it. They don't like, something like adorable kids growth chart. There's like kids growth chart, or it really
the Germans are like, don't tell me what's adorable. I decide what's adorable.
And don't push me into, like this boy here says, get it now, and like, buy it. And they're like, I don't want to be pushed into buying anything. I'm going to decide if I'm going to buy it, and you're going to not tell me, and stuff like that. And that's really important, because a lot of people will find this as like, I don't like the way this listing is talking to me. It's like, I'm not going to buy this product. It's kind of, and this is actually something which affects the buyers. I mean, you can ask any German person out there. They don't like any of these things. And of course, if you're selling like a plushy bear or something that's for babies, of course you can have a little bit of the, like cute style, but very, very, it's not like, you should not overdo it. Definitely, like, no.
Well, that is definitely a great tip. And I think we've all learned today how to, first of all, why to properly do the research before moving into an international market, why to hire somebody who knows how to do SEO and who understands keywords in the international market, and that it's not just important to focus on the keywords that you would use, for example, in a title, but it's also important to focus on the type of style you use in your copywriting, because, for example, in Germany, they don't want to be sold something. They just want to be told what it is. So every market's going to be a little different. And that's what's ultimately going to affect your success, your conversions, and your sales in an international market. So thank you, Yana, for being with us and educating us on the importance of properly translating your listings and encouraging all of us to get out there and maybe try something international. How do our listeners get in contact with you?
I'd like to invite all of your listeners, if you maybe, if you don't know why your product is underperforming, or, you don't know why is it doing so bad, you're more than welcome to send all listings to us. We'll be happy to tell you if they can be improved, or if they're fine, we'll tell you it's fine. So our email is info@ylt-translations.com. And we would also like to offer really cool discount, 30% off to the end of December, to all of the listeners. And just go to new markets. If you don't know what to do, send me an email. I'll be happy to help you. If you have any other questions with like, maybe is this good for a cell phone? Is this like a title good for like a desktop computer? Just, whatever question you have, I'll be happy to answer that.
That's amazing. So info@ylt-translations.com, and a 30% off discount until the end of December. And Yana says, email her with any questions and get yourself out there in the international market. Thank you so much, Yana, for being here with us. We love it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yana. And really quick, guys, Yana mentioned Danny Carlson. He was on the absolute first episode of Seller Roundtable. So go back to episode 1 and listen to that episode. He's talking about listing optimization. And I just talked to him recently and told him that we wanted him to come back on. So we will invite him back on, make sure he's scheduled there, and go look him up. He does have some great stuff to share. Besides that, guys, thanks for joining us as usual. Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to join us live, which is always great because we get to ask our guests questions live that you guys have. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. We really, really appreciate that as well. I know a lot of you guys are telling your friends. I keep getting emails about people, asking for support and thanking and all that good stuff. So we really, really appreciate you guys doing that. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.